Second webinar hosted by the Global Diwan. Our attendants gather from various countries: France, Greece, Italy, Turkey, of course, but as far as India. So I wish to welcome everybody. The Global Diwan is an international business club located in 3 European capitals: Paris, Berlin, and London, but focusing on the Middle East, Maghreb, and Gulf countries, connecting East-West leaders, as our motto says. Turkey is, of course, at the heart of our concerns, and the brand Global Diwan speaks clearly to our Turkish friends. I know that. So today, we will mostly debate on business and economic matters, how Turkey plays its role or not as a bridge between Europe and the Middle East, with which advantages for entrepreneurs to invest in Turkey or to trade with Turkey, which legal framework to secure foreign companies, and which sectors are more profitable. To answer those questions in 1 hour and 15 minutes, the Global Diwan is happy to welcome a panel of high-level experts. The bios were on the invitation. The audience can send us questions we will be happy to answer during 15 minutes by the end of this webinar. To begin with, I want to pay a friendly tribute to lawyer Ali Güden. At the very launch of the Global Diwan, he was the first to contact us and wishing to become a member. Will be thanks to him and to Muhammad and Mehmet for attending this webinar. So first of all, I wish to give the floor to Ambassador Maurice Gourdault-Montagne, chairman of our advisory board, former General Secretary of the Quai d'Orsay till last year. He is a connoisseur of European diversity and of Middle East complexity. Maurice, you were in charge besides President Chirac when Turkey started to discuss with the European Union. You will give all of us insight and perspective on our introducing question. Is Turkey still a bridge between Europe and the Middle East? Why do we need to keep Turkey with us? Maurice, I give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Eric, for giving me the floor. And I would like to say how happy I am to be at that seminar with Turkish partners and friends, as Turkey, to answer your question, is more than ever a bridge between Europe and, I would say, the regions eastern from Europe. I would say the continents, even eastern from Europe. I would like to greet all the colleagues here around the table and also all the ones who are listening to us. I must say we need Turkish, I would say, view and approach more than ever because the world is changing. And I remember the last talks I had with my counterpart, Vice Minister Kaymakci in Paris, were so interesting to me, as he was Turkish ambassador to Iraq, Turkish ambassador to Libya, that I learned a lot from him. So I think we have a lot to learn from each other, because our relationship between EU and Turkey is a very ancient one, let's say 500 years back, since the fall of Constantinople. It has been always a complex relationship, a relationship very subtle, in which we have to find out ways and means to find point of equilibrium, point of balance between Turkey and Europe and the rest around. Relations with Turkey is key, because by every time we are going ahead, we have Turkey as a sort of stakeholder, not shareholder, but stakeholder of Europe for its own balances. Turkey as a major contributor to the equilibrium in the Middle East and also towards Central Asia. So that's the view we have from Europe. Of course, this relationship has been dictated and has known unfoldings because of history, and because of geography. We are neighbors, and the vicinity of each other will remain forever. So we have to work together. We have to work together. In the past, let's say in the 19th and 20th century, of course, Turkey was embarked in the European conflicts as Europe was dominating the world. And as far as the consequences took place, let's remember the sad consequences of the end of World War I. And now I know we are coming to some commemorations in Turkey, but also glorious commemorations of new and modern Turkey, which is for the Europeans still a model, pattern, a success, and which the Europeans admire very much, the Turkey set up by Mustafa Kemal. This relationship has been consolidated after Second World War in the field of security, because Turkey brought an exceptional contribution to the security of the whole western continent of Europe towards the bloc of the Soviet Union. And so Turkey remains as a major contributor to security of Europe beyond that period of communism, which is now over, as everyone knows. So we have now the fundamentals: history, geography, research of an equilibrium, and global security. These are the fundamentals. We must work on that. And the thing is that we are now, we must take now into account the fact that the world is not the one of the 19th and 20th century. We are now in a global world, and we must see how the EU and Turkey together can work together in this global world. A global world which is called multipolar world, but doesn't mean that this world is organized yet. So the time of the domination of the West is over. The time of domination of the hegemony of any other one is also over. How do we organize ourselves? Let's look at the world as it is. The US are withdrawing, disengaging from most of their commitments. We are allies, the Turkey and the EU, to the Americans. But we know that this general trend has been confirmed by the Trump administration, and this will go ahead. We have the rise of China, a rise, economical rise, military rise, soft power may be another matter. We have Russia, which is a major partner to all of us, because China has shown, Russia has shown its resilience and has shown that it has come back on the international stage and being there, hence an unavoidable partner. We have Europe. Europe in this global world, Europe with all its achievements, with all its successes, the single market, means of solidarity being deployed across the continent, common policies, trade and agriculture in particular, but also lots of difficulties, the East-West divide in the EU, with the question of budget, the question of the EU identity, and who are we, Europeans? Where are our borders? These are difficult things to deal with. But we have also, and let's not forget, in the EU, a capability to bounce back, as it had been shown during the coronavirus crisis, when President Macron and Chancellor Merkel passed the agreement in the 18th of May to put together some means to bounce back and launch again our economies. And we know that the Commission has followed up. So Europe is going ahead through crisis. In this context, which I tried to describe briefly, Turkey has a key role to play in our view. We are Europeans, the Turks are at our borders, they are part of it, even if not in. And so Turkey has a pivotal role on which we must work together. Turkey is crucial for us also in the Mediterranean. We have no EU without Mediterranean. All the EU countries have, in the south part of it, borders with Mediterranean. And in the Eastern Mediterranean, Turkey has, of course, a role to play, which we must take into account. Now, the general context institutionally between the EU and Turkey is, as we know, at a stalemate. We have lots of political problems. I will just mention them. I will not deal with them because it's not the purpose of our webinar, but we have the Kurdish issue, we have and the Syrian war, we have Libya now, we have the migration issue, we have a few issues within NATO. All these issues are having their way on the institutional relationship we have. When I say institutional relationship between EU and Turkey, it means the negotiations. It started in 2005. As you said, Eric, I attended all these negotiations which took place between President Chirac and Chancellor Schröder with, at the time, President Gül and then Prime Minister Erdogan, plus Ahmet Davutoglu, at the time, the diplomatic advisor to President Gül. And we saw from that moment that it would be difficult. There was a will to go ahead, both sides, but for various reasons, it stalled. We couldn't go further. The last report of the European Commission says that there have been some progresses. For instance, regarding the integration of the communitarian acquis, regarding intellectual property, circulation of goods, financial services, there have been improvements. Regarding free circulation of capital, competitiveness, there have been setbacks. So out of 35 chapters, just to remind everyone, out of 35 chapters of negotiations, 16 have been open, one only has been closed. So we are at a stalemate. But we have also, let's say, an evolution of our public opinion, which is also to take into account, and which is, I would say, to a certain extent, accordingly, in every country, member country, but also in the European Parliament, clearly expressed. The European Parliament has asked for the suspension of negotiation, though Turkey still remains a candidate, has the status of a candidate. President Macron said that we should find out a new partnership. Chancellor Merkel said in 2017, Turkey must not be a member country of the EU. So we must absolutely, because of the transformation of the world, because of the world as it is, and as we need Turkey, and as Turkey needs the EU, we must get out of the stalemate. It's important to find out and to define new perspectives and to set up new rules of the game. What could it be? What could be the programs, the plans we could have together? The existing achievements must be absolutely preserved and in a pragmatic way. First of all, we must continue having our societies be opened up to each other through means of education with the students and others. We must have also further work done by us on the liberalization of visas. There are 72 criteria for opening the visas, for liberalizing the visas with Turkey, out of which only 7 are not yet fulfilled. We must absolutely work on it because it's through the people that contacts go ahead and that relations get deepened, not only through governments. We must work also on our convergences. Convergences in the field of security, security of the continents, East and West. In the field of security, we had a good achievement with the agreement on the Eurosam system on anti-missile between Thales, MBDA, and Turkey. We could work further on the cyber issue, cyberspace. We should share, because these are I would say, the challenges of tomorrow on which we shall have to work together. We could work on the stability of our neighborhood through more consultations, having in mind that one of the major struggles we have to go ahead is the fight against terrorism, because terrorism has hit Turkey, terrorism has hit the EU, and we must work on that. We have already convergences on Iran, for instance, regarding the nuclear, regarding JCPOA. We have convergence on the US policy in the Israelo-Palestinian conflict. The US embassy transferred to Jerusalem, the annexion of the West Bank, we share views. On the integrity of Iraq and the stability of Iraq, we share exactly the same point. So we have already a circle of common views. we could develop between the EU and Turkey our trade. The EU is already the first trade partner of Turkey. By 50% of the Turkish trade is done with the EU. Investments could be done in many fields. We have for that a tool, which is also a frame, and which is much better than a free trade agreement, which is the customs union. Customs union, which exists, to which Turkey belongs, and which exists since 1996. We could work on agriculture, we could work on services, on transport, on public markets, but we know that it's blocked by one party or the other on these different items. Now we have also the energy stakes. Energy, we know that Turkey is for the last 20 years a hub for the transportation of oil, crude oil, but also for natural gas. And we know that the EU will need more and more for its ecological transition, more and more natural gas. So these are, I would say, a good basis to work ahead. We have the Cyprus issue regarding the continental shelf and regarding the drillings. I am sure there could be solutions found. I went to Cyprus, I went to Greece. I know that if there is a political will, there will be solutions found for that. Regarding Cyprus, we had this conversation, negotiations in Gourdault-Montagne 3 years ago in Switzerland between North and South, and we were almost by an agreement, which didn't take place. Let's work, let's be, I would say, willing to find out an agreement. We have the instruments of pre-adhesion also, which are at our service since 2002. There were about 10 billion euros spent for pre-adhesion in general, and 50% of it in favor of Turkey. Couldn't we work more on that, having our legal systems be closer? That's also an issue. We have the capability also to develop more links together, EU and Turkey, in Africa. For the transformation of Africa, the EU has some skills regarding Africa, regarding infrastructure, development, and Turkey is very present. Very present. We have noticed that Turkey has now embassies in 40 countries in Africa, instead of 12, 20 years ago. Turkish Airlines is everywhere, which shows of a presence. So these are, I would say, tools at our disposal to work together. Now, so what I would say is that we know the fundamentals. We know that we need each other. We know that there are possible partnerships. Of course, there are political issues which have to be settled by the governments. We're working on that, but let's be willing to go ahead to find out ways and means. And I am very confident that if we want it, we can do it. And it's where this seminar can bring a contribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maurice, very much for your brilliant analysis of the situation. I will welcome now Catherine Dorniac. Catherine, as far as French companies need help and assistance to compete on the Turkish market, BPI could probably assist them, and you will explain us how. Before joining BPI, Catherine, you were in charge of the Middle East for MEDEF International, so you have expertise. What could be a successful strategy to be in the Turkish market? What challenges have companies to face? Which sectors are promising and which are to be avoided? Thank you to you and to BPI, which is our partner for this webinar, as you were for the first one on sovereign funds. Catherine, you have the floor for 10 minutes about.
Thank you very much, Eric, and thank you, Maurice, for this brilliant presentation indeed. What I would like to do this morning indeed is to share some insight about BPI France's strategy regarding Turkey, because we are not only an investment bank, but also the Sovereign Wealth Fund and the French ECA. I would like also to look at political and economic challenges that we hear back from companies in our portfolio. And third, to look at key sectors in Turkey and see where we can prioritize in the next few months and which sectors might have a bit more difficulties. So regarding BPI France and Turkey, there is one data to remember. It is 83 million. which is the size of the Turkish population. And we also know that 60% of the GDP is driven through consumption in the country. So just because of this information, you understand that Turkey, regardless of politics, has to be a priority for BPI France and for French companies. What we see is that Turkey has, of course, a very skilled and industrial population, so many sectors are to be relevant in this in tackling the country. Regarding the key products that we sell in Turkey, we see that it's mostly export financing and insurance. So Turkey is always in the top 3 in the Middle Eastern region for prospection and for insurance, meaning when we cover French contracts for goods and services. We have been very active indeed because only, well, last week or just recently, we publicized the coverage of 10 airplanes for the company Pegasus Air and the coverage of 3 aircraft engine by Safran Aircraft and General Electric to Sun Express. So business is still going on definitely in Turkey. Now, regarding the political and economic challenges, I don't want to go too deep into this issue, especially political, but we see obviously that due to the situation, it is quite difficult for French companies in the next few months to position themselves in bigger state contracts. And it might be hard as well to get support from French industry or even French ministries due to the current situation. Regarding the economic issues, the top 3 problematic that are brought back to me by our companies that we follow are the depreciation of the Turkish lira, the trade tariff, which remain too high, and of course, the impact of the COVID, which are still uncertain. And due to this economic and political situation, we have to make a choice in the sectors that we choose to approach if we want to have quick wins in the next few months. And so I can give my first example would be municipalities. We all know that French companies have been very active in the municipalities sector because it's an heritage from the 2000-2010 area where Turkey was looking to join the EU and we had to conform to EU norms. We identified a lot of needs in rail transportation, waste management. Suez managed to get a contract there. But we also know that Izmir, Istanbul, Ankara are now run by the opposition and that there is financing issues. What we did on BPI France's side actually was to provide a product called On Lending, which managed to neutralize the financing issue because we could lend to Turkish banks who could then lend to municipalities. But we are not very sure that due to the political situation, if this technical solution we have can actually follow. So really our need is to find sectors which are sub-political to be able to move quicker in the next few months again. One of the sectors I would like to look at quickly is the automotive industry. It's always the sector which is mentioned when giving example about Turkey as a bridge between East and West indeed. We know that Turkey is subcontractor for most of the automotive brands in the country. Renault has factories there, one of its best ones. Toyota is there. All the equipment are there. Faurecia, Plex, Ticomnium, Valeo, I forget many of them. But now we see that due to the COVID crisis, the automotive industry will be one which will be the hardest hit. And we also see that Turkey is moving toward creating a national automobile industry. They created the TAC, Turkey Autonomous Club, and they want to build their own car now. So I can tell you that this is very happening because French companies have signed the non-disclosure agreement for these projects. So it's really going on, but we see that there is a shift really in the automotive industry from constructing from other countries to now also developing the Turkey's own sector. So it's something we'll have to look at, but which might prove a bit difficult in the next few months. Now there is 2 sectors which I think could be of interest in the next few months because they are below the political radar and because they have not been hit by COVID. And of course, I will start with health. When I think of health, I think of equipment, I think of clinics, especially private clinics, because it's a bit more complicated when you depend of the Ministry of Health for the reason I mentioned above. We have very innovative companies in France. We are very specialized in diabetes, in all the first world disease prevention and treatment. One of the issues, though, is that in the health sector, the payment time is long. It can take up to 3 to 5 years to be paid, but BPI France has some solutions to help French exporters to recover their cash quicker. And we can, of course, discuss it if needed. And of course, the COVID have accelerated the needs. And the last sector I want to look at would be the fintech sector. I mentioned just a second ago that the automotive industry was one of the most flourishing in Turkey, while the family who are managing these sectors now have developed families office, and they want to invest their funds. And the funds are currently invested for a big part of it in fintech, in finance, in everything digital. The Turkish are much more advanced than the French. I can tell you that BNP Paribas head of digital in Turkey was called back actually recently to Paris to share her experience because it's clear I think the Turkish banks are the most digitalized in the IEA region and that the digital penetration is really tremendous in Turkey. But there is still some applications that we can help the Turkish market with, mobile banking, e-payment, especially contactless payment would be some area where we can find cooperations, and of course e-commerce due to the size of the market which I mentioned earlier and to the appetite. So just as a conclusion, we see that, of course, there is political and economic difficulties regarding trade between the EU and Turkey. But our challenges, I think, would be to find sectors which are less affected by the crisis, by the political situation, in order to get some quick wins. And that's why I'm advising, but among others, of course, health and fintech. And BPI France is more than ready to help everyone wanting to develop in this market. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, for your commitment and BPI commitments. You will have the floor again at the end of the panel to share some more ideas. I'm now very happy to welcome Muhammad Demir. Muhammad works in London as an investment banker and is also a famous anchor journalist for business program on EcoTurk for the Turkish audience. He has a PowerPoint presentation everybody could get after the webinar, and Mohamed will explain with facts and figures the competitivity, the attractiveness of the Turkish economy. Mohamed, you have 10 minutes maximum to convince our audience to invest and trade with Turkey. I give you the floor.
Thanks a lot, Eric. Thanks for the opportunity. Actually, it's a really fast-changing environment globally for all the countries and all the companies who are trying to do business. I would like to, I won't go into politics much as our other panelists went already into that. I'll just go through the numbers to see what we can do in Turkey. Basically, when you invest in any sector or any business, you need to have your competitive advantages, what you would have over there as a differentiating factor from the other investments. When you come to Turkey, the young population is the main driver here. We have been talking about this young population of Turkey for decades now, but in terms of numbers, if you look at it, it's 11 years younger than the European average. And when you just take the size of the population in Turkey into account as well, that's a big, big factor to be able to, you know, invest in Turkey and get some affordable labor over there as well. And the population is increasingly getting skilled and getting high education, which is the baccalaureate degree here. We had 73 universities in Turkey back in 2000. Now we have more than 206 universities in Turkey, which shows the increase in the quality of the workforce as well. Also, Turkish professionals are, they're used to work really long weekends, including the Saturday. It's a convention in Turkey where we don't have it in UK or in Europe, but it doesn't just decrease their efficiency. They are just used to it. Every country or every nation has their way of, you know, different way of working professionally. So that are positive advantages in terms of human capital. When we come to the banking system, financial system, because Turkey had a really bad experience back in 2000, we had a financial crisis before Western world. Turkish government took necessary steps to make sure that the banks are healthy, financial system is healthy, and they have established several authorities and agencies to regulate banking system, to regulate the financial system, so that they won't go down like Lehman did back in the day. So all these banks and their balance sheets, they're much better than European counterparts and MENA region. Also, these reforms are still helping the Turkish banks to go through this crisis, despite the COVID pandemic and even in the subprime crisis in 2008. Also, Turkey is a favorite destination for foreign direct investment. The type of the investors or who invests in Turkey changes. As you have mentioned before, the investments from Europe may have declined, but it has been replaced by other investors such as Middle East and China. So actually it's a game of balance and adaptability as well, because in the game of economics, there are no sides. You just look at your profits and your efficiency. When we come to the government, you may like it or not, it's a very investor-friendly government. They welcome all the international investors. They give full access to real estate. They're part of international arbitration if you have any problems with any company or the government over there. And they have investment support and promotion agency. These are government agencies to help the investors in Turkey. Also, especially, just like Catherine mentioned, if you want to invest in R&D or digital sector, there are tax deductions and social security premium exemptions. Recently, there was a game company which was sold for $1.8 billion. It was one of the biggest unicorn investments in Turkey. So this shows how big it is getting in Turkey in terms of foreign direct investments. Also, Turkey has either from ethnic background with the Middle East, with Turkey countries, or its Ottoman background, or from its vicinity to the different countries, because it has 7 neighbors anyway. It has extensive reach in the countries that we put on our presentation: Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan. These are the Turkey countries. Bosnia shares the same heritage in Ottoman and religious-wise. And Bulgaria and Georgia are the small countries around Turkey, which do a lot of business. And many Turkish companies are doing a lot of business with these countries. So you can use their expertise and experience when you want to go into any joint ventures in these countries. When we come to the consumers in Turkey, they are very consumerist when it comes to the middle class. They love to spend on consumer electronics, say it the computers, say it the smartphones. Although the purchasing power is much lower than Europe, they would just go and buy it, even if it takes them a couple of years to pay it back. And also, because the transportation is not as good as public transport is not as good as Europe, people rely on cars. So cars are much more expensive, including their taxes as well. It's almost a luxury item in Turkey. And just like Catherine mentioned, many of the car manufacturers have plants in Turkey, manufacturing plants in Turkey, which are almost all the car brands in the world. When we come to the sectors to invest, basically, energy is one of the major sectors, especially renewable energy and greener energy, which is supported by EBRD as well, European Bank of Research and Development. And in terms of solar and wind maps, Turkey is among the best countries in the world. It has geothermal energies thanks to its geographic location. And we expect that 130 billion euros will be needed to invest in the energy sector in the next 10 years, next decade, because energy is the biggest item in Turkey's budget deficit, which has been a big headache for Turkey for many years and looks like it will be in the years to come. Also, tourism is very important in Turkey. just like our panelists mentioned, including the health tourism, Turkey is the 7th biggest destination in the world. Although Turkey is like in G20 and tourism is very famous in smaller countries, or maybe the countries close to the equator, which are very warm and hot, Turkey differentiates itself in terms of service, in terms of location, in terms of the diversity as well that it offers to the tourists. Istanbul and Antalya are the 3rd and 4th most visited cities in Europe, which may come as a surprise to many of our viewers, because even for me, when I found out that Antalya was the 4th biggest city visited in Europe, I was surprised, because that's a big statement. It's just like, you know, Egypt but not Egypt. It's like Greece but not Greece. Just like we put it here, it's the bridge between East and West. You get the best of both worlds. Also, it was a very big destination for convention tourism, but obviously with the COVID-19, it's the same anywhere. We don't have any conventions, hence there's no convention tourism. But the other thing is thermal springs. We know from Iceland and other countries, this is a big area, but Turkey is underutilized when it comes to these kind of investments. Also, infrastructure investments will be a big item in the next decade coming. We expect around 60 billion euros of investment due to rapid industrialization in Turkey. So solid waste management, supply potable water, water treatment, wastewater, sewage, or power distribution are the fields that would need investment in the coming years. And obviously, if it's a government contract, you may have some barriers, just like Catherine mentioned. But at the same time, you shouldn't only see it as a governmental project that you should go into in Turkey. Turkey is a capitalist market, free market as well. There are quite a few companies that you can go and have a partnership with. On the other side, in the natural stone, Turkey is the 4th largest producer in the world, and 40% of the global marble reserves are in Turkey. Obviously, Turkey has other natural resources in terms of having the bigger share like borax, but when it comes to marble, it's used by all around the world, all the countries, and it's a luxury item as far as I know from London. But the problem is we have China in between, who is just buying it all, processing it, selling it back to Europe. And sometimes you have lose-lose, sometimes win-win situations. Here, Europe is losing, France is losing, Turkey is losing, China is winning. I think there can be a win-win situation where, you know, both countries should go into these joint ventures in these sectors so that everyone wins. And in this fast-changing environment, in international relations and economics and you know, government policies, I think it's important to be adaptable for any kind of investor, to be ready to go and invest and look for new opportunities. And there's a saying in French, "C'est vouloir, c'est pouvoir," I think, like when there's a will, there's a way. So both for European Union or investments or other things, if we want to find a solution, we will find a way. Hope that it will help all our investors and viewers.
Thank you, Mohammad. You are a very, very good salesman. Now it's the turn of Ali Guden. Ali Guden, you are a lawyer in Istanbul, but also in London by the London Bar. You are a specialist in commercial and corporate law. You prepared a PowerPoint, but we decided not to share it now, but we will send it to our audience after the webinar. Could you tell us in a few minutes how can European or others secure their investments in Turkey? Is there any breach in the rule of law or risks limited? Ali, you have the floor for 10 minutes maximum. I know you have a lot to say.
Yes, I do. Thank you for a kind introduction. And before I start my technical legal presentation, I like to say a couple of things about EU-Turkey relations. And I like to thank you, first of all, for the Ambassador Maurice about kind wishes for the relationship for the Europe and Turkey. Turkish relationship with the EU officially started 1963 with the Ankara Agreement, when the European Community Agreement is called, and then we continue to have a special relationship. And 2005, Turkey become a candidate member, and the starts. I mean, Maurice already summarized all the relationship anyway, but it's very important for us as a modern Turk. I want to say we still want a full membership, but we are still happy with a special relationship as well. We need some sort of fundamentally we need it, Turkey and Europe. I'm still fan of full membership, but of course there are a number of things to be done. This is my personal view I just want to share with you before going to do legal technical stuff. And today I'm going to talk about legal aspects of doing business in Turkey. And first of all, I want to talk about why invest in Turkey. Mohammed already mentioned about advantages of doing business in Turkey. Turkey is a large domestic and regional market. We know about the strategic location and skilled and cost competitive and young labor force. And we know about the liberal investment climate, despite some political issues and some barriers. And we know there is no barrier for the foreign direct investors. And we know about the protection for investors and some need investment opportunities. These are the advantages of doing business in Turkey and why investing in Turkey. But there are also barriers, of course, and the problems and issues that I wanted to talk about. There are like problems to find English speakers when you go out from the big cities. If you want to do business outside of Istanbul or Ankara and Izmir, there's some difficulties in finding skilled English speakers people. This is one of the I think the problem, let's say, disadvantages. The other one is like the cost of setting up a company, slightly higher cost comparing to UK and Europe. And of course, there are some bureaucracy that get involved as well, because Turkey is a civil law country, and there are some bureaucratic barriers sometimes we have. And also the corruption and bribery is a still problem in Turkey when you do business. So you need to be careful. These are the problems that I want to mention after Mohammed giving a perfect view about doing business in Turkey. So, and then I want to talk about what we have in terms of Turkish legal system, what we have here. Turkey has got a secular legal system, which is administrative law is adopted from the French legal system, by the way, mainly. And we also have a civil law, and it's adopted from German civil law, which is modern, is adopted through the, after the Republic. And we are member of NATO, United Nations, European Union, Custom Union, so on, so on. We also have a number of bilateral trade agreements with European countries and also outside Europe. So these are, and it's giving, and there are a number of legal protection for foreign investors to do business in Turkey. The one of them is, if you, of course, there are difficulties I have to mention here. The Turkish court procedure, I mean, traditional court procedure I'm talking about, I guess you have a similar system in France, and traditional courts are a little bit delayed. You know, the process are complicated sometimes, and we have the similar problem in Turkey when you have a dispute in Turkey, and there are also criticism about independency of Turkish court. But having said that, and we also have arbitration, which is available for foreign investors. I mean, if you are doing business in Turkey, and if you have a partnership agreement, if you have a joint venture agreement, and so on, you can have an arbitration clause, and you can take this matter to the arbitration if you don't trust Turkish court. So you have an alternative to deal your dispute outside the court. and you have an independent and decisions outside the court system, and you can enforce that arbitration decision in Turkey, as Turkey is party of the New York Convention of for recognition and enforcement of foreign arbitral awards, and also Turkey, the ICSID, which is International Center of Settlement of Investment Dispute Convention, is another convention as Turkey is a party. So if you have any issues like this, so you can you can take matter to the arbitration to resolve your dispute. These are instruments which is available for foreign investors to protect their interests in Turkey. So how about establishing business in Turkey? Setting up a business in Turkey is easy. You can do that. You can set up a company within a day. Conditions applied to international investors are the same as local investors. So international investors may establish any form of company set out in Turkish Commercial Code, and that Turkish Commercial Code, which is modernized very recently, offers corporate governance approach that meets international standards and fosters the private equity and public offering activities. And establishing a business is carried out trade registry office located at the Chamber of Commerce. And now these days is available online. So we can set up the company, buy an online application. It's easy. The steps to establish a company is to choose the business structure first. And we need to prepare the documents, apply the license and permits, and register for tax purposes and obtain the company seal and so on. These are the standard procedures for setting up a business in Turkey. And there are a number of course, incentives these days for if you're a foreign investor, if you want to do business in Turkey, some sorts of incentives, it's also available. What type of corporate forms is available? As joint stock company, limited liability companies are the most common use companies types that can be used in Turkey. And these are even one person can form, or one person, I mean the legal person or legal entity or natural person can form that type of companies. It used to be, it's more complicated, as I said, it's modernized very recently. There are other types of companies, but they are not really popular. These are limited company and also joint stock companies are the common one. And joint stock companies are more favorable because it's easy to transfer the shares if you want to have other shareholders to join your company in the later stage. So therefore we recommend mostly the joint stock company for the foreign investors. There are investment zones and the technology development zones. These are the areas that designate to attract investment in the high technology fields, and they have also their own special rules, as Mohammed mentioned and Catherine mentioned about some incentives. They have some incentives available in that zones and organized industrial zones, and that allow companies to operate within an investor-friendly environment. And we also have some free zones that are designed to boost the number of export-focused investments. So these are the important tools when, as a foreign investor, if you want to come and invest in Turkey. I try to summarize my presentation as quickly as possible. I mean, these are very technical stuff. I don't want to go into in details, of course. I don't know. I'm happy to answer the question if the audience have any questions about Turkish legal system at the end.
Thank you, Ali, for sharing with passion your convictions. It was very interesting. Now I will give the floor to our last panelist, Mehmet Ogutcu. You are the chairman of the London Energy Club, Mehmet, and of the Bosphorus Energy Club. You are a former Turkish diplomat. You have a broad and international and global vision. And I would like to ask you your comments about the previous panelists have asserted, and maybe some key ideas you want to share with us now. Mehmet, you have the floor.
Thank you, Eric. First of all, I would like to also commend the Global Diwan for bringing such fine minds together in your second meeting. And I think what we need between Turkey and Europe, Turkey and France, is meaningful, constructive channels of dialogue. I hope that Global Diwan will be serving as an effective political, commercial, and security platform for Turks, French, and the Europeans and the Middle Easterns in the region could come and talk to each other. I want to give 5 sharp, concise messages, if I may, in the next 2.5 hours. One is, we have to bear in mind clearly, as Maurice said at his opening remarks, the world has changed beyond recognition. We are no longer in the world of 10 or 15 years. France changed, EU has changed, Turkey has changed significantly, and it is a multipolar world. Yes, I agree with Maurice, but clearly there are 2 poles of power now, United States and China, the new superpowers, and then a great number of regional powers, more autonomous, but there is a hardening situation, tense situation between US and China. We will be forced to take sides at some point. All of us, including EU, Russia already clear, have a marriage of convenience with China, but Australia, Japan, the regional powers. So in that context, we have to see Turkey and its relations with Europe in a new context. We have to have new parameters defining our relationship. So that's an opportune time in this regard. Never lose sight of the fact that whoever is in power in Turkey, whether we like them or love them or hate them, Turkey is a major power to reckon with, all the way from China to Germany, Russia to Saudi Arabia. It's the greatest power in this geographical space, security-wise, economy-wise, and also human resources, cultural hinterland, whatever you call it. So Maurice mentioned about the Mediterranean being key for southern members of EU. That's true, but so is also Caspian, also the Middle East, relations with Russia, Ukraine, Southeast Europe, even all the way going to the Central Asia, South Asia, and Africa, where Turkish presence is growing. So it's not a country now you can deal with within the straitjacket of EU or bilateral relationship. So Turkey has to change, I agree, to work better with EU and France, but also EU and France has to change to understand how dynamics have changed in Turkey and how we can rework it between us. So we need to retool our mindset as well. With regard to EU, as also our friend said, Ali, we had a long engagement since 1963. Since then, so many countries coming late joined as an accession partner, member. In Turkish, we have a saying, if an engagement doesn't lead to marriage in a year or so, then the relationship is derailed and spoiled. Now we see that this engagement will not be converted to marriage in the foreseeable future. So we have to recognize that. We can put the blame on the EU side or Turkey, but whatever the reality is, if we keep the accession perspective at the center of our discussions, relations will be poisoned. I advise you to look at how UK, Spain, Italy, Poland, Hungary are dealing with Turkey. Independently of EU accession process, they have excellent relationship with Turkey bilaterally. Trade volume with UK jumped to almost 19 billion pounds in a few years because political relationships were good and they understand how to deal with because of their Commonwealth experience. France has a similar approach with Francophone. So it's not to say that Turkey is an easy partner, neither France is or EU, But we know how to deal with difficult partners as well around the world if there are mutual benefits. With regard to relations with France, I think we attach emotionally as well too much importance to relationship with France. Look at Turkey, Galatasaray, Saint Joseph, Saint Benoit, administrative system modeled along the French system. And I remember the days when I was in the Foreign Office with President Chirac, and we had the golden years. Then the political elite changed in France and in Turkey also, relationships started to worsen. Unfortunately, trade investment, no matter how much you try, will be affected by the state of political relationship. Hopefully, through such channels and others, we can political relations from the business in a way, because business world now, I were the head of a businessman, business world can lead the way as well to improve political relations and security relationship, be in bilaterally or in Libya, in Syria, in Africa and elsewhere. I believe strongly that this can be done, and France also, like Germany did for Central and Eastern European countries, can play a constructive role bringing Turkey closer to the EU as the leader of Club Med within EU. Look what happened during the time of Giscard d'Estaing and Karamanlis for Greece. Although Greece didn't comply with EU acquis and criteria, it was brought in. It was a political decision. And about the investment opportunities, if I could come to that very briefly, yes, the sectors mentioned already, where there is a great potential for French and to work with, but don't forget that it's not one-way street. It's not France only selling to Turkey or investing in Turkey, but also Turkish businesses investing in France and bringing trade to France, or working together in Africa, Middle East, Mediterranean, Russia, elsewhere. So we have to see this as a two-way street where there is a great potential. And last word, perhaps, there's so much to talk, but I don't want to take much time. Perhaps, because in UK we have a special group bringing together statesmen as well as the businessmen and civil society once a year, meeting rotatingly in Turkey and UK. This contributed a great deal to the expansion of business, investment, trade, and the political dialogue. Non-governmental, although you have the statesmen attending, perhaps we could try to do the same thing between Turkey and France, a regular channel of dialogue for businesses. Also to do business. It's not only talking shop, but matchmaking and getting things done. And with these thoughts, I think it is logical that we should perhaps have the next meeting in Istanbul, if you also agree. And Catherine mentioned a couple of sectors, Mohammed also mentioned. I would like to add defense industry in that, where Turkey is flourishing. It's a major exporter of defense system products. And France is great in this area as well. We already collaborate, but there is more, I think, focus to be put on defense collaboration, in addition to other big projects, which require, as Catherine said, some political relaxation in relationship. So you have to put pressure on your government, we have to put pressure on our government, so that it's not only between two leaders, dialogue is going on, but deep down, coming from the business, defense community, as well as civil society, I think we can achieve a mutually beneficial and on equal footing, I would like to underline, equal footing relationship going forward. Otherwise, Turkey has other options now. Because of the distancing from EU and US, now Turkish relations with China, Russia, India, where the power, the shifting power is there. We all recognize. So in this changing environment, I think we have to arrange the equilibrium, the right balance, for which Turkey is ideally located, politically, geographically, and economically. Let me stop here.
Thank you, Mehmet, to push our idea to have the global Diwan as a link between Europe and Turkey. And I think that all together, we can repair the bridge if there is any problem between our two countries or continents. We arrive to the conclusion time. We have 15 minutes now before conclusion. I will give again the floor to our panelists For a short 1 minute final comment or recommendation, I will begin again with Catherine. If you have any comments to share with us or the ideas that raised during the discussion, feel free to express it or comment it.
Thank you very much, Eric. Well, my key messages to the audience is that Turkey remains a key market for us, regardless of politics, and that all the challenges in the next few months or year will be to find a sector which are autonomous and away from the political level to go quickly. And that's why I was thinking of health and fintechs, because they're a good example, and they have not been hit by the COVID. And definitely BPI France can help French companies with financing, with insurance, and so on. We have an excellent relationship with Turkish banks, with whom we have cooperation agreements. And so Turkey remains really much on the radar. So please don't hesitate to contact us if you need any help.
We will give the audience your contact for Turkish problems or recommendation or help, of course, Catherine. Thank you again for participating to this webinar. Muhammad, I give you the floor again to comment or to add some remarks to what you say, but that was very clear and very practical. Muhammad?
When it comes to investment, we tend not to care about the background of the political views of the investment or what religion it is or where it comes. We should leave our emotions aside and think practically when it comes to building bridges. And United States and Saudi Arabia are not the most allied countries to be partners with, but when it comes to the common interests, they're very close to each other. So obviously there are some hard feelings between EU, France, Turkey, and other regions. Obviously, as you mentioned, since the fall of Constantinople, but everyone everywhere fell in the meantime. I mean, from that time to this time, Europe conquered each other, I don't know how many times. So yet, even with the last two world wars, France and Germany were the enemies of each other, and now they're the biggest partners. So I think we should put everything aside. Both Turkey and France having an history of an empire, they are very strong countries with strong tradition. So we should just see the common points. We should just focus on win-win approach and make this thing work, just like Mehmet said, just find common ground for working together, not only in terms of government. I want to underline that in terms of private sector as well, in terms of investments from companies to companies in other countries as well. Yeah, that's where I will finish. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Muhammad, for your very optimistic vision. We share, of course. Ali, again, a few words to conclude the political and legal aspects you have mentioned during your first intervention.
I would like to say COVID-19, this pandemic, taught us that we need each other. The Europe needs Turkey, the Middle East need Turkey, Turkey needs Middle East. We need each other. So this is, and we live in the same region. We are not far away. We are not China. We are Turkey, Europe, Middle East. We're in the same place. And we have one world, by the way, and we have one Mediterranean Sea. And we need to find a way to deal with it. And the Europe and the France should play more constructive role, as Mehmet mentioned, as an anchor to liberalize and democracy in Turkey and the Middle East. I think this is important. And in terms of business, yes, we can do more cooperation and more collaboration together to work together. And hopefully we're going to meet in Istanbul sometimes soon and discuss more opportunities, and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for your welcome. We will answer your invitation. Mehmet, once again, but your views are shared by the panelists. What you would like to conclude for this webinar?
I think I want to say just one thing, leadership. I think in the world now, there is a lack of leadership. We saw that while trying to deal with COVID-19 COVID-19 crisis. We see that in EU there is a lack of leadership to take EU to the next level, union that is losing competitiveness and getting aged. And therefore, in our relationship, we need strong leadership that should be provided by the governments, by the business community. We can always galvanize the governments if we are determined, if we see benefit there. Sometimes we are more influential as businesses than governments are, and civil society. Therefore, I would like to underline that the leadership that is lacking should be brought in by the young people, entrepreneurs, and young politicians as well. So we should play a role in bridging this gap in leadership in our countries as well as in our regions. So such platforms, I think, play a role in galvanizing this issue. That's my last message.
Thank you, Mehmet. So now it's the turn to go back to Maurice, Gourdault-Montagne. He takes notes during the speeches. I know he has a lot to say to conclude this webinar. Maurice, it's your turn to speak now. Oh, no, there's a problem.
I think
Yeah.
you need to, yes.
Maurice, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I can only but subscribe to whatever has been said by our colleagues after this discussion. And in particular, the last point regarding leadership. We need leadership. We need leadership of a country. We need leadership of countries together. We know that in the EU, leadership has been always exerted by France and Germany together, of which it was underlined that we were fighting each other, having armies along the Rhine River for the last 300 years. And now we have the Franco-German brigade on the Rhine River. So this is a great achievement. Leadership can be found provided there is a political will. I'm sure there is. And the business community, as it was rightly said by Mehmet, can play its role. What I would like to underline in particular, to stress in particular, is that we must define and shape together what will be the relation between EU and Turkey, but as quick as possible. Because COVID-19, which I didn't say anything, but which was mentioned by many of the panelists, COVID-19 is exacerbating tensions and accelerating the changes. And partnerships are now coming up, tensions are coming up more. Let's look at US and China, which are the two hegemonic powers. Do we have to choose the one or the other? The thing is, couldn't we work together to be more self-reliant together on certain projects? I must say I was enlightened by the description of all the capabilities we have, all the possibilities we have of working together between our EU zone and Turkey. Not only for both of us, but also for all the regions around. Turkey, as I said, has a pivotal role. Now let's work together, and I am very glad to think of a next meeting ahead of us in Istanbul, because we must continue, and business leadership can play a real part at the time of transformation we are going through. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maurice, for this conclusion. So it's now my turn to say a few words before leaving. Dear audience, dear panelists, we had today a very interesting, high-quality webinar on an important country, player, stakeholder, as Maurice said, Turkey. Lawyers, businessmen, diplomats, and academics from Turkey will be most welcome around our global Diwan to strengthen links, cooperation, and understanding. Let me share now some information about the Global Diwan. Our newsletter number 2 will be published by the end of this week with a special focus on Egypt, an interview on Silk Roads towards the Middle East with our partner SSF in Paris. And we have also to share with our readers an outstanding article of diplomat and researcher Charles Thépeau. I suggest you read our newsletter, you will receive. We will host in Paris a launching event by the end of September, then in London and Berlin this fall. The Global Diwan will meet in Kuwait City, invited by our chairwoman, co-chair of the advisory board Princess Intisar Al Sabah. But we have a promise we will hold to organize a business event with friends and maybe French and German companies by the end of this year or beginning of 2021 in Istanbul, with the help of our Turkish friends, Mehmet, Ali, Muhammad. Webinars will go on from September again with the newsletter number 3. The focus is not chosen for the moment. It could be Saudi Arabia, Morocco, India too. We have so many countries and regions to connect with. Our motto is connecting East-West leaders. In the name of the Global Diwan, I wish you a nice summertime in a peaceful world, but I know it's a bit wishful thinking, but we can hope. Thank you again to everybody, and talk to you and see you soon. And thank you to our participants to have listened to this very high quality webinar. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.